Hello everyone, here we are in the middle of palm trees in Banjul in the Gambia. And I wonder, what do you think this video will teach you about work-life balance? I was born by a generation who believed in hard work and commitment. And I was born into a generation who coined the phrase work-life balance. And I wonder, is that maybe an outdated concept? So let's find out together.
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief.
Just drop me in for the gap.
So maybe this is what you envisaged when you read the title of this video, Work-Life Balance, or No More Work-Life Balance. Me walking here at the beach in Banjul in the Gambia. And yes, I'm actually not on holiday. You know that I'm a commercial pilot, so our airline flew down here a couple of days ago. And yes, I can walk here on the beach with my bare feet in the water. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, 27 degrees Celsius, and I admit it's a great life. But to me, this is not what work-life balance is about. For me, work-life balance is something completely different. When you hear the term work-life balance, it suggests, at least to me, that your work and your life have to be two completely separate topics. And that's just not the case. Yes, me walking here in my work time at the beach is something that may not be possible for everyone. But at the end of the day, that is the life I created, and I made choices in that life. That means that maybe I sacrifice some other things. And to me, work-life balance is about making those choices, but not randomly, but making the choices in accordance with your values and what you believe is right for you and your happiness. Well, I don't know if you guys ever watch Top Gear, or now it's the Grand Tour on Amazon Prime. I love the show, I love Jeremy Clarkson. And if you watched it, you'll know that they always are very keen to say back to the studio. Well, you know what? This is the one time I have the chance to do this. So I say back to the office. When I was preparing for this video, I also looked at a few trends in the industry, a few trends around searching for work-life balance on the internet and on YouTube. And I found something really interesting. Over the past 5 years, when you look, for example, at Google Trends, the term work-life balance was consistently searched more often than finding a purpose in life. And if you look into the details of that statistic, it's even more drastic when you take into consideration the geographical representation. Especially in Europe and in Eastern Europe, there is a much higher degree of people looking for work-life balance than maybe looking for what their purpose in life is. I think it goes up to Germany, where it is 100% on work-life balance and absolutely 0% on finding a purpose in life. Now, maybe that also has to do with the language and that they search for different terms. But having been born in Germany myself, it is actually something that I can relate to, because people over there are still very much following the old generational picture that you have to work hard, you have to be committed to your work, you have to follow through with your commitments. And that is still very much ingrained even in the younger generation. To me, that result is a little bit concerning. It shows essentially that people, rather than looking for a purpose in their life, or maybe looking how to make their life a fulfilled life, they are rather looking at what do I want to do with my life outside work. And it shows once more that in the minds of many, there's a very clear separation between life on the one hand and work on the other hand. So quick warning, maybe this comes across a little bit as a rant, but geez, so many people come to me and say, you have to get your work-life balance right. You have to stop working all the time. You have to enjoy life. You have to relax. You have to pursue your hobbies. You have to stop, you have to do so many things. Why do I have to? Like sometimes I work 14 or 16 hours. Sometimes I sit late into the 3 o'clock in the morning times and edit videos. You know what? I enjoy it. I just love doing it. So don't tell me I have to. Because maybe work-life balance for you is something completely different than it is for me. But maybe, just maybe, it's also about how you perceive work. Are you still going around and see work and life completely separate? Because I'm not. And it's hard work. It doesn't come easily. You have to make choices. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices. But I managed to pursue a life, to create a life where, regardless of what I do at this moment in time, I don't have to see my work and my life as separate. I see it as something that works together, symbiotically. I love the word, always wanted to get that in one of these videos. But yes, if you ask yourself maybe the question, what can I do to create my ideal life? Then work-life balance becomes a little bit of a different concept. It becomes more of a choice. It becomes more of an active decision of what I want to do with my life. So after I have calmed down from this realization and that awkward statistic that you just saw on the screen, I thought, can I look at this statistic in a slightly different way? And what I did is, rather than looking at all the web searches, I switched over and looked at what people look for and search for in YouTube. Again, the result was quite interesting. You see that just towards the end of 2019 and into the beginning of 2020, so into the beginning of the new decade, there is a large spike around people looking for a purpose in life, a more fulfilled life. And while that has been the case in the past as well, if you look especially at November, December, January, when people make their New Year's resolutions, there was always a little bit of a spike, but not as much as we see here. Right, so what do we do now? I'd argue all we have to do at first is make a choice. Do you want to continue seeing your life and your work as two completely separate things? Or do you maybe want to start interpreting a little bit differently and maybe find ways of how to bring those two components together? Now, the other choice we have to make is something that I realized when I started to talk with a friend of mine who wanted to do a career change. And because I myself have just gone through a career change myself, and I have moved a little bit away from just finance related topics and this YouTube channel to also flying planes, he thought, well, maybe he's a good guy to ask that question. So we got talking and we weighed up all the pros and cons of maybe his old career and what he wanted to do next. But ultimately, it was one sentence that resonated with him. And the question that I asked him was very simple. What are you willing to give up? Because when we make a big change in our life, we always focus on the upside. Oh, the grass is greener on the other side. Here is what I can do with my new career, with my new job. And very rarely do we ask ourselves the question, what are the downsides? What do I actually have to give up? For example, when I made a switch between having an office-based job and flying airplanes, I had to give up a certain level of security. I also had to give up a certain level of routine that I could go to an office, because today I often don't know what I will do in the next day. The second thing you probably have to do when you want to make work really part of your life and not have a separation of those two any longer is to filter out some of the negative thoughts. I very consciously say not filter out negative people, because sometimes, and probably often, it is those that are closest to you who come up with negative thoughts that then you in turn have to overcome. For example, I still remember a few months before I made the decision and made the choice to pursue a commercial pilot career, I was talking to one of my best friends. And I have no doubt that he has my best interest in mind always. And yet we always came to the same kind of topic, and I asked myself, well, are you aware that the pay will be different? Are you aware that maybe you will have a completely different lifestyle than you have now? Is that really what you want? And when we hear those things, especially from people who are close to us, we start to think and we start to overthink and we question ourselves, and doubt creeps in. And doubt isn't necessarily a bad thing. It helps you to analyze and investigate whether your thoughts are actually true to yourself. But yet, if you continue to surround yourself with those thoughts, you might end up never acting on what you want to do in the first place. And third, you need a plan. Without a plan, nothing is going to happen. And when I say have a plan, it probably comes into three phases. First of all, you do need a financial plan. Because think about it, especially when you go from a paid job or something that earns you your income today to something completely different, you will have to think, how do I get from A to B? That might be even more important if you think about starting up your own business. You have to ask yourself, can I do that with the savings that I have today? And is it a good idea? Or maybe, can I start my business on the side and finance it through my current activities? It'll be also about choices. It means to work a little bit longer. It means to divert your attention sometimes. But it might be a better choice. It might be a better plan financially. The second component of that plan is, what is your personal goal? What do you try to achieve with what you are doing? Is it because you see a purpose in it? Is it about money? Is it about having more time for the family? So ask yourself, why do I want to make a change? Because sometimes the grass on the other side isn't green. And the third component of making a plan is something that many forget, and frankly I forgot in the initial phases of my change as well, which is, what is my growth plan? For example, does this new role that I go for have growth potential? Or does this new career that I pursue give me a lot more free time so that I can do maybe something else in addition to what I planned out to do? So if you consider your plan, think about the financial implications, your personal dreams and goals, and also your future growth. So I hope this video gave you a little bit of food for thought around work-life balance, what it means in general, what it means to you, and maybe how you want to act on it in the future. Before you go, as promised, I've got a very special treat for you. I showed you a few pictures of Banjul in the Gambia earlier on, and one of the things I could record was a friend of mine making some fruit juice, and I promised him to be in this video, so hope you enjoy that as well. I do wish you a great week ahead. I look forward to seeing you next time, and in the meantime, please enjoy.
Yes. This is mango. This is my
message?
Mango juice.
Mango juice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
With Liverpool, we never walk alone.